Hi, I'm Peter Menchaca. I'm a Client Solutions Advisor here at iAcquire, and today we're going to be doing Cliff Notes Tuesday on the link building book by Patty Mugen. I'm going to be focusing on Chapter 5, the anatomy of a link, and we're going to be talking about what makes a link good and what makes a link bad. So there's three main sections of this chapter. We're going to be talking about diversity, relevancy, and trust of a link itself. And then we're going to be talking about the elements of a page that affect the link's quality, and then we're going to be talking about the elements of the link that affect its quality. So that's what we're going to be covering. To start out, going over the diversity, relevancy, and trust of a link, which are the three components of a link that you need to take into consideration when building high-quality backlink portfolios. When we say trust, we really mean what Google thinks of the page that's linking to your site. And I'm sure you're all aware of PageRank. There's actually something that we'll be talking about called TrustRank. And what TrustRank is, it's actually talking about how much trust Google places in your site. So, and it's a metric similar to PageRank, but PageRank doesn't really consider the quality of your content. It just talks about, it's just a very simple metric. So what TrustRank is there's sites such as the New York Times, CNN, BBC that are very trustworthy in the eyes of search engines. And the further away you get from those 100% trusted sites, the more likely that it is that your site is going to be less trustworthy. So the concept of TrustRank is that the closer your link is to a site that's trustworthy, the more power that link is going to have, the more trust that Google is going to place in that link. Diversity, what we mean by that is the number of links from different domains that are linking to your site, and then the types of those links. So if you have a bunch of different domains linking to your website, that's good. If you have one domain consistently linking to your website, that's not as good. You want to get a lot of different links from a lot of different sites. Additionally, you don't want to get a lot of links from the same type of site. So if you're doing a lot of press releases, but you're just doing press releases, then that wouldn't be a very diverse backlink portfolio. So you want to have press releases. You're going to naturally have comment links and just a variety of different types of sites and types of links that point to your website, and that is natural, and that's that adds to your diversity, which is good. Finally, we have relevancy, which just talks about the relevancy of the anchor text and the relevancy of the types of sites that you're getting links from, which we'll get to here in a second. Moving on to, actually, hold on, let me pick this back up. Moving on to elements of a page that affect the quality of the link. There's 7, so we'll go through them one by one. And the goal of this is to figure out what makes a page good and what are we looking for in terms of targeting a page, and to figure out, should I try to get a link from this page? Number 1, we have to take into consideration the number of links that are on that page. The way that PageRank is distributed on followed links on a page is that it's proportional to the number of links on a page. So if I have 10 links, they're each getting a certain percentage of PageRank. And same thing is if I have 100 links, they're each going to get a percentage of that PageRank. Obviously, if there's a lot more links on the page, each one of those links is going to be getting less link equity that passes through that link. So if there's a lot of links in the page, that probably means that you're not going to be getting as much value from that link versus if there's only a handful of links in the page. Is the page penalized? That should be a pretty obvious one, but when you're looking at a site and trying to figure out, should I get a link from this page, it's important to consider the quality of that page. And one thing you definitely don't want to do is to get a link from a page that could potentially be harmful from an SEO perspective. So that's something to take into consideration as well. The quality of the other links on the page and the quality of the types of sites that the page is linking to. So let's say I see a really great page, but it's linking to payday loans and pharmaceutical pages and gambling sites, that might be a signal that, maybe I don't want to get a link from this page. So keep in mind that you're looking at the number of links, but you're also looking at the other types of sites that are that page is linking out to. The number of links that the page has and the number of links that the domain has. So I'm looking at a website and I see that it's a brand new page, or maybe I'm giving an article to a website and I want to figure out should I do so? So things to take into consideration. Does the page have links already pointed towards it? If so, the more that generally means that it's a good resource. And additionally, are there a lot of links that are pointing to the domain? So it's important to take into consideration the authority of the page and the authority of the domain itself. The age of the domain. This is probably not as important anymore, just because it's not as important as a few of these other metrics on here, but it's important to take into consideration the age of the domain. Generally speaking, older domains will have more time to have built up better backlink portfolios, so that might be a metric you might want to consider. Is the link in a PDF? Oftentimes, websites will only accept white papers, or it's impossible to get a link on a site if you don't have a PDF. Some sites don't accept standard links. It's important to consider when you're creating PDFs or you're link building with PDFs that you're linking to the right pages inside of your content and using the right anchor text inside of your PDFs. Finally, when determining elements of the page that you should look for to assess its quality, pretty obvious, but you need to make sure that the site is crawlable by search engines. If the page that you're trying to get a link from is inaccessible via the robots.txt file of a domain, then that means that Google will never crawl the link and you will never ever get any value from it. So easy way to do that would just be to check if the page was cached relatively recently. That's all you need to do. Moving on to elements of a link that affect its quality. So we just talked about elements of a page that affected the quality of a link. Now we're going to talk about what you need to consider about the link itself to determine its value. Number one, the position of the link on a page. So generally speaking, search engines will give more value to links that users are more likely to click on. So if I'm reading a website and there's a link in the body content, I'm more likely to click on that link versus a footer link or a sidebar link. So the way that the real estate works on a website is that links in the body content, preferably towards the top, are assigned more value than footer links or sidebar links. So that's something to consider. The anchor text of that link. So anchor text is a hotly debated topic, and it's the importance of anchor text has actually diminished over the past few years, but it's still a very strong signal that search engines take into consideration. And they do so because the anchor text of the link can tell you more about the context of what the page it is that you're linking to. You definitely don't want to go overboard in terms of your anchor text, so you want to be very diverse in terms of the number of times you use your exact match anchors versus your branded anchors versus your click here's and so on and so forth. But anchor text is still important. No follow versus follow. So if you're a link builder, you should always, for the most part, try to get followed links. No followed links are generally used when it's an advertisement or you don't trust the quality of the page that you're linking to. Like for comments, oftentimes no follow is essentially created to combat comment spam. But basically, if you're building links, try to make them follow links, although it is pretty natural that a certain percentage of your backlinks are going to be no follow, so that's fine if it happens every now and then. Link title. The link title is part of the HTML code when you're building a link. It doesn't have any value actually for SEO. It hasn't had any value since 2005. It might be important from a user perspective, so that's important to take into consideration. If I put my browser over an anchor text, it might pop up a description of what that link is about or whatnot. But it doesn't have any SEO value, but it has some user value. So it's something to take into consideration. A text link versus an image link. So we've been talking about links this whole time, we're talking about text links and your standard HTML links. But sometimes you might have an opportunity to build links with images. So maybe there's a partner section of a website and they have links to their various partners, but they're using their logos. In that case, you'd want to use your brand's logo, put it on the page, and you can actually define in the alt text of the image, which is kind of like anchor text. You can put your brand name or whatnot, which basically tells the search engines a little bit more about what that image is. Alt text doesn't have the same value as the anchor text does, but it is important and you should be considering it when building links with images. Ajax Flash, and we've got JavaScript over here. So basically when you're As a rule of thumb, if you're building links, always try to get basic, simple HTML links. Those are going to be the easiest for search engines to crawl, and they're going to have the easiest time in indexing those links. But it is possible to build links, and search engines are getting better at reading and parsing through JavaScript and Ajax and Flash and whatnot. So there is a chance that those links, if you're building them through a non-standard HTML, that they will be found, but for the most part, try to build links through standard HTML. There's been a lot of talk about co-citation and really looking at the context surrounding the anchor text. And the thought is that Google is getting better at determining if a page is talking about cookies, but the anchor text is click here, and the link is going to another page that talks about cookies, then Google is going to think that, okay, well, page A linking to page B, they're both about cookies, therefore page B should be more relevant about that topic. So there is some evidence out there that says that the text surrounding the anchor text of the link itself is important. So if you're building links and you can't change the anchor text, maybe you're going to get some value out of changing the text that surrounds it. So that's something to take into consideration as well. So anyways, I'm Peter Menchaca, and this was Chapter 5 of the Link Building book by Patty Mugen. Thank you.